So let's take a look at the whole rendering part. But before we do this, you see I deleted all these other spaces. I will create a new screen layout, and let's say I call this one rendering. And right now you don't really see much of a difference because, well, we use the same layout. So let's adjust the layout. So maybe this will be our nodes. So we have plenty of screen real estate to work with. And here maybe we will have a camera and then a 3D space. Okay, great. And you see now there we can switch between them. Awesome. Okay, great. So materials. And we want to do a nice outside rendering. There's also something called clay rendering and then normal rendering. So with a clay rendering, we have just all objects look like clays. They have the same material. And you don't want to adjust materials to objects and swap it out all the time. So what you see here is this material orange has a very basic diffuse, and then here is my very basic glossy object. So when I click on this one and do a rendering, it's white. If I click on this one, it gets all the color. So maybe let's click this one, then here we do another Shift D, and let's, by the way, you can actually copy. So Apple C, Apple V, or Control, you can copy elements in between. Cling, ding, and maybe let's say this one is maybe white. Okay, good, perfect. And let's say here, this one, that should be a very basic metal. Then we just need the glossy, let's plug it in 0.05 so it's a little bit brushed, and maybe let's use this one. Good. Okay, so you see in each object I have a basic clay, and then I have a more defined object. Make sure we only click on all objects onto the clay material so that that one is selected. Okay, perfect. So how do we do a nice environmental rendering? Well, cursor to center. Let's make a big plane. This really has to be big. There. Let's go to the world, and you see I have sky texture here. So what's the sky texture doing? I will show you in a second. Let's set our viewport to maybe 75. Then we can go into perspective, and when we zoom in, it's not so crazy distorted. So when I do a rendering now, it looks pretty great. And also there you see these objects all are nice and gray. Again, that's kind of like what we consider a clay rendering. It's very fast, and we basically, because it's all white, we can study the object. Now I showed you how via the environment texture we can load an HDRI image to do image-based lighting. The problem there is we have an environment where we can rotate it, but we're stuck to what that image only has. But let's say we want to do something outside and we want to play with the color of a sky, etc. So for that, we can use the sky texture. It looks like this. We plug this in. We can also maybe go to here. We have two different models. Let's maybe work with this one for the moment. And it's important that you are in, where is it important? Yeah, make sure you're in perspective. Yes, you have to be in perspective. So if you move around, you see, oh, up there's the sun, there is the ground. So you see this element here, and if I rotate it around, where's my sun? There is it. If I move it closer down, it's there, kind of like on the horizon. So what does this actually mean? Let's press 7 and we take a look at our object. Let's move this one back via left mouse button to the center. So right now the sun is at the zenith. If I move this one to there, the sun will be in negative y. This is positive y. This is positive x. This is negative x. This is above, and then basically that would be below. So we want light maybe to come from this area towards the object. So you see I rotated my scene. Let's start the rendering. And see, there it is. And we can play also with the strength, maybe give it more power. And you see, based on the color, and we can play with the turbidity. It's kind of like how dirty our air is, that adjusts the colors. So it's kind of like simulates a sky. No clouds, just sky colors. Okay, 2.5 there. And if I go to this view and now I rotate this one up, you see how, for example, it looks like the light is coming now kind of like 45-degree down onto it. Also the colors change because during the day we have really clean light, and to the evening, well, everything gets duller, more reddish. So that's kind of like the way how the sky system works. This is very good when you have to create an object that is to be rendered outside. But I would like to have a little bit more control over the shadow. So what do we need? Well, we work with a sky, which basically has a virtual sun. So let's add a sun. We can add the sun. From the side here, I rotate it. So and the trick is now to figure out what's the degree here and how much do I have to rotate the sun. It doesn't matter where the sun really is. It can be left and right and up and down. What's really important is this line, how it rotates. So let's start the rendering again. Yeah, and there you see I matched, for example, the position of the sun with the light that comes out of my environment. For example, I rotate the sun to there, then it's kind of like two suns, but that's not what we have. Okay, perfect. There are a few more things we can do with the sun. I will show here my buttons. Go to the sun. We have centimeters. When we set this to 1 centimeter, we get really nice sharp shadows. Can, for example, make a nice long shadow line this way. I can also rotate in top view the sun. You see then the shadows rotate. But I'm bringing actually my my sun from the sky texture and my sun object out of alignment. So that's not very good. Okay, there. Perfect. So the sun can also have a certain strength. If I set the strength to 0, however, you see it doesn't emit any light. Thus, we also don't see any shadows. We go to the settings here and we turn maybe diffuse off. You see, yeah, that's unfortunately the problem. So we have to be mindful of the strength of the sun we give and how much power, for example, we give the background. So there we can play there and there. Now you see the shadow pops out a little bit more. 1.3. Yeah. 1. Make it a little bit brighter. Okay, Perfect. So, and if we make this 1 millimeter, I think then we get razor sharp shadows. If we make this 3 meters, then yeah, the shadows are very, very soft. So now you might ask yourself, that's a sun. Why do we deal with this? Well, the thing is, our sun in real life is very far away. So the sunlight kind of simulates parallel light rays, while even they are not in reality, but they're very close. So you see the shadow has a consistent sharpness, and not sharpness, the lines are of the shadow parts are nice and parallel. And that's because of the sunlight. But then with the size, we can override how soft, for example, a shadow should be. So we have a little bit of creative trickery. Good. Okay, so that's kind of like a very basic clay rendering. So now let's go ahead and add all our real materials. I would like to be included. There, nice. Good. You see also here on the metal, you see the reflection of our sky environment. So that's pretty nice. 0.05, this is way too blurry. 0.05, always forgot a 0. Well, if we rotate around, then we can get nice looks. And again, if you want to make a, let's say, during a day rendering, now we can move the sun here for the sky a little bit up. And then obviously also our sun that casts the shadow, we have to change as well. So let's say you work with you have to create an outdoor exhibit project, bus stand or something. And this is basically then one of the preferred render setups to use. They render very fast and are easy to control. Okay, let's add a camera. And camera and empty there and there. Let's track it. And then we can position the camera and find a nice look of our object. So the problem is right now here, this clips out, so we can scale this up, for example, till it fills the area. Perfect. Good. Let's do another rendering, and there we are. Nice. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to show you in terms of how we can create a basic outdoor setup by using then the sky texture. Now there are obviously also image-based or HDRIs, which are outdoor HDRI IPL. Let's check this. For example, there. So you can use those as well, for sure. Then, however, because we can't really move the sun, you just have to work with what the image gives you. And then we have to, how could I say that, match the sun right to the position inside the image. Okay. At this point now, we technically speaking would be ready to create our renderings. And let's say I would like to place this object onto a nice white backdrop. But the problem is currently the way how everything is rendered, I have it inside this environment. So I don't really want to go into Photoshop and have to edit all the stuff. So what can I do during rendering to get the stuff separated? Well, And that is where render passes come in. So what's a render pass? A render pass, for example, can be an image that has all the color. It can be an image that has all the reflections, can be an image that has all the shadows. So the render engine, and this is not unique to Blender or Cycles, it's just common practice, splits up the rendering into individual images, and then in Photoshop or so we can compose them all back together. So to do the render passes, you can go to the scene, and then there you see passes. And there we have combined, mist, vector, UV, shadow, and that's the one I want. And then we also have here passes for diffuse, from the moment that we can all keep off. So with this, for example, we get the diffuse, glossy, and all the stuff combined, and we get, in addition, one shadow rendering. So I will do a quick rendering. Where are my samples? There, 10. Maybe I set this to 50, so it's a little bit cleaner. I will do a very small rendering, so you don't have to wait too long. Okay, good. So render and render image. And there it is. Okay, well, where's the difference? Well, the key is if you now go to combine, there you see there's combine and there's my shadow pass. You see this is a black and white image that basically defines where is shadow and where is no shadow. Okay, so this, for example, I can save. So image, save, save as image. So this one, for example, here let me make a new folder, renderings, and we call this one maybe color pass. Okay, then we can go to shadow, and for example we call this one, well, obviously we call this one shadow pass. Okay, but I also would like it to be very easy for me to separate my main object from the environment, so I can put a nice white background behind, and then I put that over the shadow image and adjust the shadow image. So how can I do that? Well, one of the easiest ways is to create a mask image. And I will show you how we can do this. So I have to reorganize my scene here a little bit. So everything that's for my world I put onto another layer. Okay. And this is basically now the whole design with the 3 objects. And we will use an OpenGL rendering of this. There are a few settings you want to set, so go to rendering or render OpenGL anti-alias, set this on, this you want to set high, and then you want to set alpha mode to transparent. So this transparent will make actually the background of my object transparent. So then you can click this one, and there we have the image. And you see it's kind of like a screenshot, but it's not just a screenshot. It's a black and white image with the transparency for the background in there. Perfect. So this now we can save as well. Save image as, and I call this one mask. And make sure specifically for this, save as image, PNG, and RGBA, so you have the alpha channel. Okay, perfect. Then in Photoshop we can load, for example, that one first image. Where is it? Rendering, there. So this is our color image, and I will load for example, the shadow pass there. I have to copy it over onto another layer. Okay, and let's open the mask, copy, and then I paste it over. Okay, so Photoshop didn't position this correctly, so we have to reposition it so it perfectly fits. It's not going to be too difficult. There. Okay, so what do we do with this pass image? Well, first you see the background is transparent. And how do we do this without the key shortcut? So on a Mac, you can hold the Command key and you can then press on this layer, and you see it selects the layer. And I don't know if on the PC you have to press Alt key or so. So with this selection set, you see I have a nice selection. I can go now to my color rendering and add a layer. And there's now my object, as you can see, completely cut out without me having to go and paint this alpha mask. I simply created this alpha mask based on a screen OpenGL image. Perfect. And you see there I can put, for example, this one in the back. There now I have my correct shadow. I can add another image layer below, maybe make this white if I want. And then here, for example, I can adjust the opacity so I can play a little bit with the shadow. To hide the shadow, for example, a little bit more, now we could add a little bit of a blur effect to it, or we could also add another layer mask. Let's go with the brush. There, we want to paint with black. This is too big. There, maybe paint a little bit from the outside. There you see, like, we can play with the shadow even more, because I'm painting now a transparency mask for this layer. See, works pretty good. So let's go back to Blender. Let's say I actually would like to only have a rendering with the shadows, but not as a shadow pass, but on the natural background, so I can work with the shadows there a little bit more. So what we would have to do is actually create a rendering where my objects are casting a shadow, but they do not show up in the image. So to do this, we can select, in our case here, those three parts, go to Object Properties, go down to Cycles, and then hold the Alt key, and then we turn this off, this off, this off, and this, and this. And shadow, whoa, what happened? Shadow we keep. So let's do another quick rendering. And there you see now we have actually a background image. Mine is just, for example, the object, but just the shadow. So this, for example, we can save as well. So let's go to, let's maybe call this one Shadow Pass 2. Okay. And let's go back to Photoshop, open Shadow Pass 2, copy, paste it in, and this goes behind. Because the main reason is, you see, the shadow pass can here and there have some issues, specifically, whoa, this is way too big, zip, there. specifically along this edge here, there is a small highlight, which I don't really like. And there you see it's not. So, but I would like now to maybe from this rendering get rid of the surrounding. Just please keep this shadow, because you see the shadow pass here is really like a black and white. It shows you where's shadow, where's no shadow. So here maybe this area I want to paint a little bit, so I do not have actually these white edges. Okay, so zoom, zoom, zoom. There, 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 there. Let's get rid of all that stuff. Okay. Perfect. Good. And, oh, hey, hold on. Let's go back. Shadow. Ah, there we have it. Another one I want to export. So, forgot this one. So, shadow pass 2. No, wait. Pass 3. So, sorry for the hiccup, because I realized, hey, we have this pass actually, so I don't have to paint this map. So, another open, there, copy, paste it in. So what's so important about this image? Well, the thing is, I can't kind of like with this one command key make a selection, but because this is black and white, I can go to select, color range, click on the white, and there you see now I can easily just select all the white color. Maybe work a little bit with the fuzziness. There's also a quick mask or none. Quick mask really works, so basically you see how your mask currently works out. Okay, perfect. And you see then this again creates a selection. Now we can go to here, the selection I want to invert. So you see now only my shader area is selected. I can, for example, then say make a mask, and there it is. Bing. Now the colors, for example, match. And also the rest is all nice and good. So I can, for example, lower them or play with this a little bit. I can also desaturate this layer. Do we have a desaturation effect in here? Maybe. There was something, I think, somewhere. Right now I don't know. I don't really work in Photoshop that much anymore, but we can go to adjustments and there desaturate and see that layer is desaturated. So in case you just want to have a grayscale shadow and not a colored shadow. Okay, perfect. That's it. That was basically everything what I wanted to show you about how we can make a normal rendering, how can we make passes for diffuse and the color, how we can trick, for example, to get just the shadow shapes rendered but not show the objects, create this interesting OpenGL screenshot, and then in Photoshop or honestly whatever image manipulation app you use. I mainly work with Pixelmator. It's smaller and sometimes I find faster for what I want to do. Then we can do the compositing. Now you would ask, well, why do you want to do it this way? All the stuff. Well, if you want to create a rendering for a white backdrop, you could go ahead and try to paint everything out, or simply you render it in passes, compose it, clip it, and everything is perfect. And that's the main goal behind it. And in addition, kind of like here with the shadow, we also have the ability to play with this a little bit more. When this is all in one image, you can't adjust it that way. And again, this is a very common process, not unique to Blender. It's just part of compositing and image manipulation when you do digital renderings.